Okay, all praises, honor, and glory be unto the Most High, power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Holy Father Yahweh, in the name of His Son Yahweh Shai. We give all respect and salutation to those that are going out laboring in the field, trying to wake up the 12 tribes of Israel, scattered all around the world. Um, we were scattered via slave ships to the four corners of the earth, pursuant to Deuteronomy 4:27, Jeremiah 17:4, Deuteronomy 28 and 6 to 4, Luke 1 and 24, and various other precepts, right? That tells us of our captivity and us being scattered all through the four corners of the earth. Today, I want to come to you with a short lesson on the topic of, did the Jews reject Christ, right? Did the Jews reject Christ? The general teaching in Christianity is that all the Jews rejected Christ, and therefore the church, replace Israel as God's chosen. And now the church is God's new Israel, right? And that's a lie. That's not true, right? So we're going to go into the precepts. We're going to see whether or not the Jews rejected Christ. If that is true, I want to kick it off with First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21. Okay, this is the book of First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 21, right? It says, prove all things, hold fast of that which is good. So we have to be able to prove everything out of the Bible, right? Let me get on First Peter 4 and 11. Right? We got to prove all things. We can't just say that the Jews rejected Christ and now the church is the new Israel without proving it. We can't just say that. Right? We have to prove it from the Bible. And for too long, we've been accepting doctrines that man just feel like saying, and they just say it, right? But now that we're waking up and the prophecies are fulfilling in these last times, right? We have to come back to the understanding of the scriptures and understand that in order for us to hold on to a particular doctrine, it must be coming out of the Bible, and we can't be going about making up our own things, right? Can't be going about making up our own things. If we do that, then that's blasphemous. That's lies, right? So we got to come out of the Bible, like Paul said in Colossians 2 and 8, that we should be careful or beware lest anyone spoil us with philosophies and vain deceit, right? And that's what's been going on, especially in the black churches, right? And I mean in all churches, but really, I'm talking about my people, right? So in the black churches, that's what you'll see, right? A bunch of lies, right? So let's see what the Bible says. Chapter 4 and verse 11. Where we at? All right, this is the book of First Peter, chapter 4 and verse 11. It says, if any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God gives. So, and let me go to 2 Peter 2 and 20, just real fast. 2 Peter 2 and 20. Uh, 2 and 20. Where am I? All right. Okay. This is the book of First Peter, chapter 2, and verse 20. Is that what I want? No, I think I want. Oh, chapter 1 and verse 20. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, I messed it up. Okay, so here it comes. This is the book of Second Peter, chapter 1 and verse 20. This is knowing this first, that no prophecy of the Bible, of the scriptures, is of any private interpretation. For the prophecies came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of Yahweh spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. So that's the first thing we have to understand. So we can't just make up our own doctrine. Let me get another precept on that. In Psalm 68, and I believe I want, let me see what I want. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 68, and I believe I want, yep, verse 11, right? Psalm 68 and verse 11. It says, "The Lord gave the word, great was the company of those that publish it." So we have to come out of this book. We got to come out of the word. We got to prove all things. The scriptures didn't just come from random men, like the random Christian pastors that make these doctrines up. That's saying that the church now replaced Israel, right? That's nowhere to be found in the Bible. Israel has always been a man, right? A nation of people came out of that man, right? Abraham was not an Israelite. Isaac was not an Israelite. All the Israelites came from a man that his name was Jacob. That's Abraham's grandchild. That's Isaac's grandson. Excuse me, that's Isaac's son. Right? His name was changed from Jacob to Israel. And the Most High blessed him with 12 sons. And those sons have children. And over time, they became a great nation. Those are the Israelites. They're not spiritual. Those are physical Israelites. Those are who Christ came for. And let's get that. Right? Let's get that. Who Christ came for. First, let's go to Matthew 15. Right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, and I'm going to read verse 24. Right? Matthew 15 and 24. And this is Yahweh or Jesus speaking to a Syrophoenician woman or a Canaanite woman, right? It says, but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So you see that Yahweh said he was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's who he was sent for. Now, do you think the master who sent him? The Most High sent him. Do you think the Most High sent him for the lost sheep of the house of Israel and then just for them to reject him? Does that even make sense? The Most High know all things, right? So that would never happen. So, but let me get some more proof. The book of Galatians. Let's go to Galatians, right? Galatians chapter 4 and verse number 4. Okay, because this is really not a very hard topic to break down, but you know sometimes you just got to deal with these Christians and get these precepts out so that Israel can be edified and Israel can understand what really is going on in these scriptures, right? These are simple scriptures, right? This is the book of Galatians, chapter 4. And we'll start reading from verse number 4. It says, but when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them who were under the law. Who were under the law? The Israelites, under the first covenant. That's what it's alluding to, right? Just as it says in Hebrews 9 and 13. Hebrews 9 and 15, excuse me, right? But I'm gonna read it again. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 4 and verse 4, right? It says, "But when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption." See, that we, who are we? Paul and the rest of the Israelites that he's writing to. That we might that we might receive the adoption of sons, right? So Christ came for those people that were under the law. He didn't come for everybody else. He didn't come for the Christian church. That's not in the Bible. All right, let me get you one more. Yeah, let me get you one more in the book of Hebrews. Right? Hebrews chapter 9 and verse number 13. Verse 13. I'm going to start from 13, but what the point is in verse 15. Okay? Hebrews 9 and 13. It reads, "For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of heifer sprinkled the unclean sanctify to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God." Right? Here it comes in verse 15. Hebrews 9 and verse 15. "And for this cause, he is the mediator," meaning Christ is the mediator between the Most High and Israel. Right? Remember, Moses was the first mediator between the Most High and Israel. Now Christ is the mediator. I'm going to read it again. This is Hebrews chapter 9 and 15. It says, "And for this cause, he is the mediator of the new covenant," or the New Testament, right? "That by means of death, for the redemption of the transgression that were under the first testament." So he came to redeem those that were under the first covenant, because they sinned. That's why Hebrews 8 and 8 says that for finding fault with them, with the Israelites, right? He said he's going to make a new covenant, and this is the new covenant that Christ came to establish. Right? It's the new covenant that Christ came to establish. Right? So with that, let me just crush that replacement theology. How they say that Israel is now being replaced with the church. Okay, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31 and verse 35. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh, which give the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divides the sea, when the water thereof roar. Yahweh Sabaoth is his name. If those ordinances," what ordinances? The moon, the sun, the stars, the wave of the sea, right? "If those ordinances," verse 36, "if those ordinances depart from before me, saith Yahweh, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation from before me forever." So we have to ask ourselves, when we go inside and look up in the sky, are we still able to identify that the sun is still there? Yes. What about the moon? Yes. What about the stars? Yes. If we go to the sea, can we still see the waves? Yes. Right? So therefore, Israel has not been replaced or removed from before him. Okay? That's just a lie, a fabricated lie by the Christians. Christ came to redeem the children of Israel that were under the law. They broke the first covenant, so he came to establish a better covenant, not with animal sacrifices, but with his own sacrifice, his own blood. So let's get into the scriptures and see what Christians are talking about when they say that the Jews reject Christ. Now let's see. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 1 and verse 11. Then we're going to go to John 8 and 31. All right. So this is the book of John, chapter 1 and verse number 11. It says, he came unto his own, and his own receive him not. But as many as receive him, to them he gave power to become the sons of God, even to them who believe on his name. Right, already you see a cut right there with Galatians 4 and 4. Galatians 4 and 4 just tell you what this was talking about, right? But we're going to deal with it. We're going to see who rejected him. Because if you ask, did the Jews reject Christ, right? It's really a technical question. And yes or no. It's like, ask me, did did the black people here in America vote for Barack Obama? Right? The answer is yes or no. Some people voted for Barack Obama, and I'm talking about black folks, so-called black folks, and some so-called black folks did not vote for Barack Obama. But the vast majority of them voted for him only because he's black, right? That's an analogy I just gave you to explain what happened here, right? Because Christ was rejected by some Jews, but the vast majority of the Jews, they believed on him. And still to this day, we believe on him. Still to this day, we believe on him. Never stopped, right? You still have some brothers that still don't believe on him. They call themselves Old Testament Jews or Old Testament only Jews, right? But nonetheless, let me read John 1 and 11 again. He said, he came unto his own, and his own receive him not, right? His own receive him not. So that's what they used to say, that the Jews rejected Christ. Now watch what verse 12 says. But as many as receive him, as many as who? As many of who? The Jews. That's the same, his own. That's what he's talking about. He said it came unto his own, and his own receive him not. But as many as receive him, as many as who? As many of his own that received him. Galatians 4 say the same thing. Galatians 4 and 5. Right? As many as received him. Right? So this is the book of Galatians, chapter 4, once again, and we're going to start from verse 4. Galatians 4 and 4. It says, but when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them who were under the law. So when it says in John 1 and 12 that, but as many as receive him, as many of who is he making reference to? Verse 11 is his own. As many of his own people that receive him, he's going to give them the power to become sons of God. Here it is in Galatians 5, in Galatians 4 and verse 5. It says to redeem them who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. Who's going to receive the adoption of sons? Those that were under the law. Precept upon precept, line upon line, right? This is how we have to approach the scriptures. This is what the Bible tells us, right? So here it is again in John 1, 11 and 12. It's in John 1 and verse 11. It says, he came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as receive him, to them gave he power to become the sons of Yahweh, even to them who believe on his name. Okay. So who's going to become sons? Those that are redeemed from under the first covenant or under the law. Them, Christ gave them power to become sons. The adoption to become sons, right? John 8. Let's go to chapter 8 and 31. All right. This is the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 31. It says, then Jesus said to those Jews which believe on him. So you see that he came unto his own and his own received him not. But there were some Jews that believe on him. Watch. I'm going to read it again. Then said Jesus to those Jews which believe on him, if you continue in my word, then are you my disciple indeed. Because remember, John 1 and verse 12 says that. Let me read it again. Right? This is the book of John. Because remember, he said, if you continue in my word, then you are my disciple. So let's see what it says in John 1 and 12 again. This is the book of John, chapter 1 and verse number 12. It says, but as many as receive him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, right? By the adoption, like it says in Galatians 4 and 5. Watch this. Even to them who believe on his name. That's what he just said in John 8 and 31. The same thing he just said in John 8 and 31, right? If you believe in my word, let me go back and read it again. This is the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 31. It says, then said Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, if you continue in my word, then are you my disciples indeed. You see that? So it's the same thing that is said in John 1 and verse 12. So did the Jews reject Jesus? Let's continue on. Let's go to chapter 11, John chapter 11, right? This is the book of John, the 11th chapter, and I'm going to read verse 19, then I'm going to jump up to verse 40. John chapter 11 and verse 19. It says, and many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brothers. So many of the Jews came. This is Lazarus's death. The Jews came out to support Mary and Martha because their brother just passed away, right? So many of the Jews came out. Watch this. Let's jump up to verse 40. This is John chapter 11 and verse 40. It says, Jesus said unto her, said I not unto you that if you would believe, you should see the glory of God? Right? 41. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I knew that you hear me always. But because of these people, because of the people which stand by, because of the people which stand by, said I it. Right? Excuse me, let me read it again. 42. It says, and I knew that you hear me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that you have sent me. Now, who are the people that stood by? Right? Who are those people that stood by? Verse 19 once again. John 1 and 19. These are the people that stood by. It says, and many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Those are the people that stood by, right? 43. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he who was dead came forth, bound at hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Yahushua said unto them, loose him and let him go. Verse 45. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary had seen the right, and then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Yahushua did believed on him. How many of them? Many. Let's read verse 19 again. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Verse 45, right? Verse 45 reads, John 11 and 45. It says, then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did believed on him. But watch this. But some of them went their way to the Pharisees and told them what things Yahushua had done. So now you're starting to see a little build up, right, of who might have hated him, right? But before we get there, let me give you even after his death. Let's go to the book of Acts, right? Acts chapter 2 and verse number 6. I think I want to start. You know what? Let me just jump up to 36. Right? I was going to get you where you got Jews coming from all the way out of all over the world coming to the Feast of Pentecost, and they believed. Over 3,000 of them were baptized. I'm just going to get to the point. I'm not going to read the whole story. I'm just going to get to the point. So this is the book of Acts chapter 2, and I'm going to start from 36. Right? Acts 2 and 36. It says, therefore, let the house of Israel know assuredly that Yahweh has made that same Yahushua whom you have crucified, both Lord and Christ, right? He's the Messiah and he's our Lord, right? That's what the precept is saying. All right, verse 37. Now, when they heard this, they were pricked in their heart and said unto Peter and to the rest of the apostles, men and brethren, what shall we do? Then Peter said unto them, repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, for the remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. Right? Verse 39, for the promise is unto you and your children. You see that? The promise is unto Israel and their children, not to the Christian church. Right? And to all who are afar off, even as many as the Lord our God shall save. Meaning even those people that are not around Peter while he was talking, those Israelites. Right? Verse 40. And with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, save yourselves from this untoward generation. Then they who gladly received his word were baptized, and the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls. So that's thousands of people that believed on Yahushua, right? Thousands of people believed on him, of Jews, Israelites, right? Did the Jews reject Christ? Right? The leaders, the elders rejected him of Israel. The elders of the Jews rejected him. But did the regular people reject him? Absolutely not. This is why to this day we still believe on him. That's why we still believe on him. Okay, let me get a couple more. Let me get Acts 21. This is the book of Acts chapter 21 and 18. Acts 21 and verse 18, right? This is, and the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. And when he, that's talking about Paul, had saluted them, he greeted the elders, he declared particularly what things God had wrought through the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Most High Yahweh and said unto him, you see, brethren, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. You see that? So the Jews know not only that they believe in Yahushua or believe in the Messiah, but they also know that they had to keep the law. That's something that is far removed from the Christian church today, far removed from Christianity, right? They don't want to hear anything about the law. They disassociated themselves from the laws of the Most High, but we must keep the laws in righteousness, right? And believe in the Messiah, right? So as you can see so far, the Jews did not reject Christ on a whole, meaning the nation of Israel did not just abandon Christ and turn their backs on him. So let's see. Let's get on Luke 9 and 20. Let's see who rejected him. Luke chapter 9 and verse number 20. This is the book of Luke, chapter 9 and verse 20. Luke 9 and 20, right? And it reads, he said unto them, but whom say ye that I am? Peter answering said, the Christ of Yahweh. Verse 21, and he straightly charged them and commanded them to tell no man that thing, saying, this 22, the Son of Man must suffer many things, watch this, and be rejected of the elders. The elders are Jews. And chief priests, the chief priests are Jews, and scribes, also Jews, and be slain and be raised the third day. So he explained who rejected him: the elders, the leaders, right? Let's go back to John 11. John 11, right? Where was that with Lazarus's death? John chapter 11, and we're going to go up to 47, right? Because this is the issue. They had a problem. The leaders had a problem with Yahushua. Here it is right here. I'm in John 8. This is John chapter 11 and verse 47. And it reads, then gathered the chief priests, Jews, and the Pharisees, Jews, a council. So they called a meeting, right? And said, what do we? For this man does many miracles. This is after he rose Lazarus, right? If we let him alone, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all, right? He know nothing at all, nor consider that this is expedient for us, that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not, right? But what I want to get out of that is the fact that they were plotting to kill him for the reason of him performing miracles, and they don't want the people to believe on him, because if the people believe on Yahushua, then there's no duty for the Pharisees. There's no duty for the high priest, because Yahushua is replacing the priesthood, and he's telling the people to beware of the Pharisees. So they were afraid of losing their position. So they were like, man, let's get rid of this man. So they're the ones that rejected him. They are the Jews that he came to. Those are his own people that he came to, and they reject him. They received him not the general population of Israel, right? That's just not true. That's not what happened. All right, let's get a few more. Let's get Mark 8 and 31. Right, this is the book of Mark, chapter 8, and verse 31. Right, and it reads, and he began to teach them that the Son of Man, that's Christ talking about himself, must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and of the chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. So you see that the chief priests, the Pharisees, the scribes, the leaders of Israel, the elders, these are the people that rejected Yahushua. These are the Israelites, the Jews that rejected Yahushua. These are his own that he came to, and they received him not. Right? You got common folks too, like regular Israelites that received him not as well, like denied him. But to say that the Jews in the whole rejected Christ and the church replaced him is a lie, as we're seeing through the precepts. And this is why the books say that we have to prove all things and hold fast of that which is good, right? Let's go to Matthew 21, right? Matthew 21 and 33. I want to show you that. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 21, and verse 33. For John, that's John the Baptist, came unto you in the way of righteousness, and you believe him not, right? But the publicans and the harlot believed him. And you, when you had seen it, repented not afterward, that you might believe him. Watch this. Here another parable. It's a parable that he's telling them now. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about, and dug a winepress in it, and built a tower, and let it out to husbandmen. So it's like there's this man, he owns a property, and he built he had a farm. Let's say he had he's into farming, and he had a lot of crops. Then he let the other farmers help him to take care of the vineyard, right? So that's the parable he's given. Verse right, let other husbandman in it, right? And went into a far country. He's talking about himself. Verse 34. And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servant to the husbandman. You're really talking about the Pharisees, right? How the Most High set the Pharisees over Israel, and to lead Israel, or set the leaders of Israel to lead them, but they didn't do a good job doing that, right? So that's what the parable is about. Verse 36, verse 34. And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servant to the husbandman, that they might receive the fruit of it. And the husbandman took his servants and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another. Again, he sent other servants, more than the first. He sent other prophets, right, to Israel. And the elders keep on killing the prophets. Watch this. And they did unto them likewise. But last of all, he sent unto them his son. He sent Yahushua, saying, they will reverence my son. Excuse me. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance. Right? And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and slew him. So he's talking about himself, what the Pharisees, what the leaders will do to him. Verse 40, when the Lord therefore of the vineyard comes, what will he do unto those husbandmen? So he asked the Pharisees that question. Yahushua asked the Pharisees that question. Verse 41, they say unto him, he will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen, which shall render him the fruits in their season. Yahushua said unto them, did you never read in the scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected, the same is become the head of the corner? This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore I say unto you, the kingdom of Yahweh shall be taken from you and given to another, and given to a nation, bringing forth the fruit thereof. Talking about the northern kingdom, right? Um, let me just read 40. Let me read up to 46. It says, "And whosoever shall fall in this stone shall be broken." Talking about himself, but whosoever it shall fall, but on whosoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. And when the chief priests and Pharisees heard his parable, they perceived that he spoke of them. But when they but verse 46, but when they sought to lay hands on him, he they feared the multitude because they took him for a prophet. So they always had beef with Yahweh Shai and wanted to kill him because of what he stood for and how he was telling them the truth. And they didn't respect that because they thought that there would be no need for them if Yahweh Shai took preeminence over the people, right? So that was their gripe. That was their fear. Okay, let me give you one more. I'm gonna go to one more. This is Matthew 27. Matthew 27, and let me see, this third verse 11. 11, right? It says, and Yahushua stood before the governor, right? This is before Pontius Pilate, right? Yahushua stood before the governor, asked him, saying, and Yahushua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, are you the king of the Jews? Yahushua said unto him, thou sayest. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, do you not hear how many things they witness against you? And he answered him to never a word. He answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now, at the feast, it was Passover, the governor was one to release unto the people a prisoner, whom they would. Like they would make a choice of the prisoner they want to be released. And the governor will do this every Passover, right? Verse 16. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas, right? Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will you that I release unto you, Barabbas or Yahushua, which is called the Messiah? Right? That's a question Pilate asked them. For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. So who envied him? The leaders, and they stirred up the people and paid some of them to create an uproar, so that way that they can kill him, they can crucify Yahushua. But this was all the Lord's doing, like Yahushua told him in Matthew 21, right? Verse 18, for he, Pilate, knew that for envy they, the elders, had delivered him. When he was sat down on the judgment seat, that's Pilate, his wife sent unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with this just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. Verse 20, but the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask for Barabbas, right? And destroy Yahushua. So you see that? These are the ones that rejected him. 21, this is Matthew 27 and 21. The governor answered and said unto them, whether of the two will you that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said unto them, what shall I do then with Yahushua, which is called the Messiah? They all say unto him, let him be crucified. So you see that because of the elders and the leaders of Israel stirred up the people and invoked certain things into their spirits, the people rejected Yahweh's release and asked for Barabbas to be released. So you see that. So, but was that all of Israel? Absolutely not. That would not be accurate, because I just showed you, even after his death in the book of Acts, there are thousands of Jews that believed on him. Right? I'm gonna read some more on this. Verse 22. Pilate said unto them, "What shall I do with Yahweh, which is called Christ?" They all say unto him, "Let him be crucified." Right? And the governor said, Pilate, why? Pilate is the governor. The governor said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out one the more, saying, "Let him be crucified." Why are they saying that? Because the leaders of Israel provoked them to say that. They stirred them up to say that, put it in their spirits to say that, right? Because of envy. Verse 24, when Pilate saw that he could not prevail nothing, like he can't win, because he was trying to release Yahweh. Think about that. The devil, the heathen, the Edomite was trying to release Yahweh because Yahweh was a just man. But the leaders of Israel stirred up the crowd and had them to tell Pilate, to persuade Pilate to release Barabbas and crucify Yahweh, right? Verse 24, once again, it says, when Pilate saw that he could not prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hand, therefore, before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See you to it. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and on our children. And that's why we're so jacked up. That's not a reason why we're so jacked up today, the Israelites, because of this proclamation that we made, right? The blood of Yahweh be in us and upon our children, right? That was an evil thing to even utter from our mouths. Verse 26, it says, then released he Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Yahweh, he delivered him to be crucified. So you see that? Did the Jews reject Yahweh? Yes, but not the nation of Israel in its totality. The leaders rejected Yahweh, right? But you got the common people believed on him. He was performing miracle among them,